Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Chapter 6, Tales of the Ossianic Cycle. They found themselves suddenly entangled in yarn. I'm going to try to get a light over in that corner. The Chase of Slievegallion. This fine story, which is given in poetical form, as if narrated by Ossian in the Ossianic Society's transactions, tells us how Cullen the Smith, here represented as a Danann entity, who dwelt on or near the mountains of Slievegallion in Co Armagh, had two daughters, an Amy and Meluchra, each of whom loved Finn mac Cool. They were jealous of each other, and on Amy once happened to say that she would never give a man with gray hair, Meluchra, but she would never have a man with gray hair. Meluchra saw a means of securing Finn's love entirely for herself. I'll never have gray hair. So she assembled her friends among the Dananns round the little gray lake that lies on the top of Slievegallion, and they charged its waters with enchantments. This introduction, it may be observed, bears strong signs of being a latter addition to the original tale, made in a less understanding age or by a less thoughtful class, into whose hands the legends have descended. The real meaning of the transformation which it narrates is probably much deeper. The story goes on to say that not long after this, the hounds of Finn, Bran, and Scallaun started a fawn near the hills of Allen and ran it northwards till the chase ended on the top of Slievegallion, a mountain which, like Slievenammon, in the south, was an ancient Ireland, a veritable focus of Danann magic and legendary lore. Finn followed the hounds alone till the fawn disappeared on a mountainside. In searching for it, Finn at last came on the little lake, which lies at the top of the mountain, and saw by its brink a lady of wonderful beauty, who sat there lamenting and weeping. Finn asked her the cause of her grief. She explained that a golden ring, which she dearly prized, had fallen from her finger into the lake, and she charged Finn by the bonds of Gaish that he should plunge in and find it for her. Is it the plural geisha? But it's a single geish, so single taboo or what it's good. Finn did so. After diving into every recess of the lake, he discovered the ring, and before leaving the water, gave it to the lady. She immediately plunged into the lake and disappeared. Finn then surmised that some enchantment was being brought on him, and ere long he knew what it was, for on stepping forth on dry land, he fell down from sheer weakness, and arose again, a tottering and feeble old man, snow-haired and withered, so that even his faithful hounds did not know him, but ran round the lake, searching for their lost master. And we see that they chased him to the seashore. Illustration. People who've remembered their dreams or have visions may realize there are things that we have, or states that we're in, that seem very physical, that are only visionary. abilities that we're going to have. It doesn't mean they're not real. It just means that they're not physical. Let's not pretend that we have a dream and we've done whatever occurs in our dream in the physical life. That don't mix the planes, as it would be said. Meanwhile, Finn was missed from his palace on the hill of Allen, and a party soon set out on the track on which he had been seen to chase the deer. They came to the lakeside on Slievegallion, and they found there a wretched and palsied old man, whom they questioned, but who could do nothing but beat his breast and moan. It's okay to mourn, but you don't have to wear mourning clothes or beat yourself. I don't believe in that. I would advocate that. At last, beckoning Kilta to come near, the aged man whispered faintly some words into his ear, and lo, it was Finn himself. When the Fianna had ceased from their cries and wonder and lamentation, Finn whispered to Kilta the tale of his enchantment, and told them that the author of it must be the daughter of Cullen the smith, who dwelt in the fairy mound of Slievegallion. The Fianna, bearing Finn on a litter, immediately went to the mound and began to dig fiercely. For 3 days and nights they dug at the fairy mound, and at last penetrated to its inmost recesses, when a maiden suddenly stood before them, holding a drinking horn of red gold. It was given to Finn. He drank from it, and at once his beauty and form were restored to him, but his hair still remained white as silver. This too would have been restored by another draught, but Finn let it stay as it was, and the silver white his hair remained to this day of his death. The tale had been made subject of a very striking allegorical drama, The Mask of Finn, by Mr. Standish O'Grady, who rightly, no doubt, interprets the story as symbolizing the acquisition of wisdom and understanding through suffering. A leader of men must descend into a lake of tears and know feebleness and despair before his spirit can sway them to great ends. There is an antique sepulchral monument on the mountaintop, which the peasantry of the district still regard, or did in those days before board schools, as the abode of the Witch of the Lake, and a mysterious beaten path which was never worn by passage of human feet, and which leads from the rock sepulchre to the lakeside. It is ascribed to the going to and fro of this supernatural being. And I remember in a park in Pendleton, Oregon, north of where I lived, where there wasn't really signs that the guy that lived there used his shed. And there were similar rumors floating about that. My siblings never bought it. But that doesn't mean, but we were suspicious of some sort about this guy and his shed, because this has been put on us. We shouldn't have been. But yeah, that's what I remember. I think I don't think I was one of those people, but yeah, at least somebody snuck over on the guy's property. But it's like, okay, so the guy lives next to the park and he doesn't share his land with the general public. So what? You're not supposed to. But there are real witch schools. But nowadays they're mostly you don't know how serious people are, whether they're just out to make money. Not some, oh, they have a secret practice they want to pass on. It's like, there might be less of that going on, despite there being more people. There being the old-fashioned type of people just find each other and they. But often it's just, okay, this person is just not as involved in society. That has nothing to do with whether or not they're a witch.